A huge intergalactic market is shown on a distant space station. Humans rarely come here. The air is filled with traders shouting, alien beasts growling, lights flashing. Then the camera stops on a dark auction corner where dangerous beings are sold. A human engineer named Marcus Hale walks by, only wanting spare parts for his ship. But someone gently pulls his sleeve. A weak voice whispers, "Please buy me, human." Marcus turns and sees a chained alien girl with bright silver eyes and warrior tattoos on her arms. She looks injured but proud. The moment is tense, other aliens stare at him. Why is a warrior being sold? Marcus knows that warrior-class aliens hate humans. Buying her could drag him into political trouble. The slaver warns him. She was once a commander, very dangerous, very costly. But the girl whispers again, this time with fear in her eyes. "If you leave, I will not live to see another sunrise." Marcus buys her, but the slaver smirks strangely as he completes the deal. As soon as the chains come off, the warrior collapses. Marcus carries her away, feeling many alien eyes watching him. He senses that something is wrong. Maybe he was tricked. Maybe she is hunted. Welcome to my channel Starlight Sci-Fi Stories. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Marcus Hale walked through the bright halls of the great alien market, feeling the mix of fear and wonder that always came when he visited this place. The air was thick with strange smells, and louder than a human city as beings from 100 worlds shouted, traded, argued, and pushed through the endless metallic lanes. He only wanted to buy ship parts, nothing more, nothing strange, nothing risky. He told himself that again, as he walked past cages that held creatures he did not recognize and stalls full of glowing devices that hummed with strange power. He kept his head low, trying not to draw attention, but humans were rare here, and eyes followed him wherever he stepped. He moved quickly, staying near the shadows, until he heard a soft sound behind him, a whisper that should have been lost in the noise, yet somehow reached his ears. "Please buy me, human." The voice was weak. He turned slowly, unsure who had spoken then. He saw her, an alien girl sitting on the cold floor of a dark auction corner, her wrists locked by heavy chains, her silver eyes bright even in the dim light. Her skin carried markings like faded battle tattoos, and even though she looked exhausted, there was something strong in her posture, something that told him she had once stood tall and proud. She raised her head again and repeated, "Please buy me, human," her voice almost shaking. Marcus froze. He had heard stories of the Syraxian warrior clans, and none of those stories were gentle. They were known for their strength, their pride, and their hatred for humans. So why would one ask him for help? The slaver nearby stepped forward, grinning with sharp teeth. "Dangerous girl. This one was a commander once, but now she is cheap," he said. Marcus felt the weight of the slaver's stare. He felt the whispers of nearby aliens wondering what the human would do. He did not want trouble, he did not want danger. But the girl looked at him again, and this time fear flickered in her eyes. "If you leave me here, I will not live to see another sunrise," she whispered. He swallowed hard, his heart pulling him in one direction, while his mind screamed in the other. He should walk away, he should ignore her, he should stay safe. But he could not forget the way her voice trembled. He reached for his credit chip. The slaver laughed, pleased with the deal. A moment later the chains clicked open, and the girl collapsed. Marcus grabbed her. Before she hit the ground, she was lighter than he expected, almost too light, as if she had not eaten in days. He lifted her gently, trying to ignore the growing sense that something was very wrong. He carried her through the crowd, feeling dozens of alien eyes watching him, some angry, some curious, some full of hate. He quickened his pace, heading for the docking bay. He wanted to reach his ship before anyone decided to follow, but the feeling of danger only grew. He heard footsteps behind him, slow at first, then louder. When he turned his head, he saw 3 armored Syraxians pushing through the crowd, their eyes locked on him. Marcus tightened his hold on the girl and hurried forward. The docking bay door was close, almost close enough, but the footsteps were speeding up. He broke into a run, his boots hitting the metal floor in sharp echoes. He reached his ship, opened the door, and slid inside, slamming it shut just as something heavy crashed against it. He locked every bolt and seal, praying it would hold. The engines roared to life, and the ship lifted off as the aliens outside pounded on the hull. He felt the whole ship shake when they struck it again, but then the engines carried him away. Out of reach and into the cold quiet of space, Marcus let out a long breath and turned to the girl who lay on the floor, her eyes half open. She looked up at him with a mix of pain and stubborn pride. "My name is Ryla," she said weakly. "I was commander of the Syraxian warrior clans." Marcus stared at her, confusion filling his mind. Why would a commander end up in chains, he asked. But she did not answer. Instead, She pushed herself up slowly, her hands shaking. They betrayed me, she said after a long moment, her voice low. Her own people sold her. That made no sense. Why? What did she do? What happened to her? But before he could ask more, she looked at him with a warning deeper than fear. They will come for me. And now they will come for you too. Marcus felt a chill go through him as her words echoed in the small ship. He went to the control panel, checking the scanners, but nothing showed yet. Space was quiet for now. He turned back to Ryla, wanting to understand, wanting to help. But before he could speak, the ship suddenly beeped loudly. A message incoming, not from humans, not from traders, but from the Syraxian High Command itself. A cold mechanical voice filled the ship. Return our prisoner at once, or be destroyed. Marcus stared at the screen, unable to move. Ryla looked at the message, and for the first time true fear filled her eyes. Whatever secret she carried, whatever truth made her own people hunt her, it was much bigger than he had expected. The ship lights flickered, as if reacting to the tension. The silence between them felt heavy, full of danger and unanswered questions. Ryla took a slow breath, steadying herself. She looked at Marcus with eyes that once belonged to a proud warrior, now hunted by her own. She whispered, one last warning, you do not know what you bought, human, and they will not stop until they silence me forever. The message from the Syraxian fleet repeated again, return our prisoner, or die. Their ship still invisible somewhere in the stars, the danger growing closer from the shadows of space. And Marcus understood that his life had just changed forever, and part one ends here, with a fear that stretches across the darkness and a mystery deeper than he ever imagined. Marcus stared at the message as it repeated again and again, the cold voice echoing through the small ship, telling him to surrender. Ryla, telling him to give up a life that was now tied to his. He could feel his heart pounding as he looked at her. She sat with her back against the wall, breathing slowly, trying to stay strong, though he could see the pain behind her silver eyes. She had the look of someone who had lost everything and was still trying to stand. He wanted to ask more, but the warning lights blinked. Scanner, something huge was closing, and he rushed to the control panel. And there on the screen, a shadow formed, a shape far too large to be a trader ship or patrol. It was a Syraxian war cruiser, a monster of metal and fire, drifting from the dark like a silent predator. Even without weapons charged, its size alone was enough to crush his tiny ship. Ryla struggled to her feet, her hand on the wall for balance. They found us, she whispered, and for a moment she sounded like the proud commander she once was. Marcus wanted to yell, wanted to ask what she had done, wanted to ask why the entire Syraxian High Command was willing to kill a human ship just to silence one girl. But there was no time. A violent shake hit the ship, sending both of them stumbling. The cruiser had locked onto them with a magnetic clamp. He heard the deep metallic groan as the two ships connected. He opened a storage panel, pulled out a small plasma tool, the closest thing he had to a weapon, and turned to Ryla. Can you fight? He asked. She nodded slowly, though her legs trembled. I will fight as long as I breathe, she said, and something in her voice made him believe her. The door at the back of the ship began to hiss as it was forced open, the metal bending under pressure. Marcus felt fear rising inside him like a cold wave, but he moved beside Ryla, holding the tool ready. The door burst open, and armored Syraxian soldiers pushed inside, tall, strong and silent, their armor glowing with faint energy. Ryla stepped forward, even weak. She moved with the memory of a warrior, throwing herself at the first soldier. Her elbow struck his helmet with a sharp crack, sending him off balance. Marcus swung the plasma tool, hitting the second soldier in the shoulder. Sparks flew as the armor dented. The battle was close, tight narrow hall, their bodies clashing with metal walls, each moment a struggle for survival. Ryla grabbed a fallen soldier's staff and spun it with surprising control, knocking another back. But the fight was wearing her down. Marcus could see her arms shaking, her breathing uneven. He jumped in front of her, blocking a strike with his tool, the force numbing his arm. He pushed forward, desperate, using every bit of strength. They fought through the hallway, pushing the soldiers back step by step, until one of them shouted to retreat. The Syraxians pulled back, sealing the door between the two ships. For a moment, there was silence, only their breathing filling the hot air. Marcus leaned on the wall, his mind racing. They will come again, he said. Ryla nodded. They will not stop until I am dead. Marcus wanted to know why. But the ship shook again, alarms blaring. The enemy was trying to override his systems. He grabbed Ryla, helping her toward the engine room. They needed to break free from the clamp, or they were finished. The lights flickered as he opened a panel showing the energy core glowing with unstable blue light. If we overload the core even for a second, it might break the magnetic lock, he said. But if we push too far, the ship might explode. Ryla touched the panel, her fingers trembling, then looked at him with a strange calmness. I will do it, she said softly. You must escape. No, Marcus said, his voice sharp. We do this together. She stared at him, confused, as if she had expected him to sacrifice her like her own people did, but he shook his head, refusing to leave her behind. He guided her hands to the controls, their skin brushing as they entered the override codes together. The ship began to tremble, the lights flashing red warning them of the danger. Outside, the Seraxian soldiers tried to break through again, pounding on the connecting door, the sound echoing like thunder. Ryla took a deep breath, steadying herself, and pulled the final switch. A blast of light erupted through the ship. The magnetic clamp snapped, the enemy ship was thrown backward, spinning. Away, the impact knocking the soldiers off their feet. The sudden force threw Marcus and Ryla to the floor. The lights went dark for a moment, then flickered back on. The connection was broken. They were free. Marcus scrambled to his feet, pulling Ryla up, checking the scanners. The Seraxian cruiser was damaged, drifting, unable to follow for the moment, but he knew they would call reinforcements. They always did. Ryla leaned against the wall, her body shaking, but her eyes bright with cold determination. She reached into the small pouch on her belt, the only thing the slavers had not taken, and pulled out a tiny crystal glowing. Faintly inside it moved, swirling lights forming patterns. Marcus looked at it, confused. What is that, he asked. She held it out to him, her voice quiet. This is why they hunt me. This holds the full plan of the Seraxian High Command, to destroy the human worlds, to wipe out Earth and every colony your people have. Marcus felt his chest tighten, disbelief fighting with horror. Why would they do that, he asked. Ryla looked away, shame and anger mixing in her voice. The leaders fear humans, they fear your will, they fear your courage, they fear that one day you will stand equal to them. So they planned a silent strike, one that no one would trace back to them. I found the truth, and they called me a traitor. She held the crystal out toward him again, her hand shaking. Take it, your people must know this. Marcus took it carefully, feeling the weight of a whole war resting in something so small. He looked at Ryla, wondering how much she had lost to protect this, how much pain she had endured alone. He placed a hand on her shoulder gently. You are safe with me, he said. She looked up at him, silent at first, then her voice soft and uncertain. No one has said that to me before. He helped her to the cockpit, and they set a course for Earth. The engines hummed as the stars stretched around them, forming long bright lines across the black of space. Ryla sat in the seat beside him, her eyes watching the sky, a sky that had once belonged to her enemies, and now held her last hope. Marcus glanced at her and saw something new, not the warrior, not the prisoner, but someone trying to believe in trust again. She turned to him and whispered, maybe I chose the right human. He gave a small, tired smile. But before he could answer, the scanner beeped again. He checked it, his heart sinking. A massive fleet had appeared behind them, more ships than he had ever seen. Seraxian cruisers, destroyers, carriers, all emerging from the shadows of space, their lights glowing like cold stars. They were silent for now, but they were following slowly, steadily, waiting for the moment to strike. Marcus looked at Ryla. She looked at the fleet, her face pale, but her eyes steady. We cannot stop, she said. We must reach your people. Marcus nodded, gripping the controls. The engines burned brighter, pushing them forward into the unknown. Ahead lay danger, war, fear, but also the only chance to save both of their worlds. The stars rushed past, and the fleet behind them kept coming, growing larger in the dark like a storm that refused to break. Yet together, they flew on, two lives tied by fate, one crystal holding the truth, their last chance for peace, or the first spark of a war that would shake the galaxy forever.